Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Ukraine strikes again, and this time another deadly blow has shaken Russia in a way that cannot be ignored. While the world was still debating whether the war had entered a frozen phase, events on the ground proved that nothing about this conflict is static. The explosions, the panic, the sudden silence from official channels, and the flood of online footage all point to one undeniable reality. Ukraine has once again demonstrated its ability to hit hard, hit smart, and hit where it hurts the most. This war has reached a stage where every single strike carries meaning far beyond the battlefield. It is no longer just about territory or numbers. It is about morale, perception, endurance, and the message sent to both domestic and international audiences. Ukraine understands this deeply, and this latest strike reflects a level of planning and confidence that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. As reports began emerging, one thing became clear very quickly. This was not a random attack. This was not desperation. This was precision. In the hours before the strike, there were no dramatic warnings, no loud announcements, no visible troop movements that could easily be detected. Everything appeared calm on the surface, but beneath that calm, intelligence assets were working around the clock. Satellite data, drone surveillance, intercepted communications, and real-time battlefield analysis were all feeding into a single operational plan. Ukraine waited, and when the moment was right, it struck. The impact was immediate. Explosions lit up the night sky, sending shockwaves through nearby areas. Residents reported windows shaking, power disruptions, and emergency sirens echoing through the darkness. Within minutes, local authorities began restricting movement, and communication in the affected area suddenly became limited. This is a familiar pattern now. Whenever Ukraine successfully hits a sensitive Russian target, the response follows the same script: initial denial, partial acknowledgement, and then silence. But silence, in this case, speaks louder than words. Inside Russia, the reaction was swift and emotional. Social media platforms were flooded with videos and photos showing fires, damaged infrastructure, and emergency crews rushing to contain the situation. Even as state-controlled media attempted to downplay the incident, ordinary citizens could see with their own eyes that something serious had occurred. For many Russians, this strike shattered the illusion of safety. For a long time, the Kremlin worked hard to convince its population that the war was distant, controlled, and firmly under command. Ukraine's repeated ability to strike deep, accurately, and unexpectedly challenges that narrative again and again. This is psychological warfare at its most effective. From Ukraine's perspective, the message was equally powerful. This strike was a reminder that Kiev retains the initiative. Despite shortages, fatigue, and constant pressure, Ukrainian forces remain capable of planning and executing complex operations against a much larger adversary. It also sent a message to Ukraine's allies: support matters, intelligence sharing matters, advanced weapons systems matter. Every successful strike reinforces the argument that continued backing for Ukraine produces real, measurable results on the battlefield. Military analysts around the world have been quick to point out the sophistication of the operation. The timing suggests careful consideration of Russian air defense patterns. The accuracy indicates improved targeting capabilities. The choice of target suggests a deep understanding of Russian logistics and command structures. This was not just about destroying something physical. It was about disrupting systems, slowing operations, and forcing Russia to divert resources away from the front lines. Every missile intercepted, every drone shot down, and every emergency repair requires manpower, equipment, and money. Over time, these costs add up. Ukraine's strategy appears focused on making the war increasingly expensive and difficult for Russia to sustain. Meanwhile, inside Ukraine, reactions were a mix of cautious satisfaction and determination. Officials avoided excessive celebration, sticking instead to measured statements emphasizing defense, sovereignty, and resilience. This restraint is deliberate. Ukraine knows the importance of maintaining international support and avoiding unnecessary escalation rhetoric. But among ordinary Ukrainians, the feeling was different. For a population that has endured missile strikes, blackouts, displacement, and loss, each successful operation brings a sense of justice. Not revenge, but balance, a reminder that they are not powerless. As the day progressed, more details began to emerge through unofficial channels. Analysts pieced together clues from satellite imagery, flight tracking data, and local eyewitness accounts. Slowly, a clearer picture formed of what had been hit and why it mattered. The target was not just valuable, it was symbolic. It represented Russia's ability to project power, sustain operations, and maintain control. By striking it, Ukraine exposed vulnerabilities that Russia would rather keep hidden. This exposure is perhaps the most damaging aspect of the attack. Wars are not won solely through firepower. They are won by breaking the enemy's confidence in their own systems. Every time Ukraine successfully penetrates Russian defenses, it raises uncomfortable questions within Russia's military and political leadership. Questions about preparedness, questions about corruption, questions about competence. These questions don't disappear. They linger. International reactions followed quickly. Western officials expressed concern while reaffirming Ukraine's right to self-defense. Analysts debated whether this strike marked another escalation or simply a continuation of an existing pattern. Some warned of retaliation. Others argued that Russia's options are increasingly limited. What is undeniable is that the balance of perception is shifting. Not long ago, headlines focused on Ukraine's struggle to hold territory. Now, they increasingly focus on Ukraine's ability to strike strategically, far beyond the front lines. This shift changes how the war is discussed, how it is funded, and how it is understood by the global public. Russia, for its part, faces a difficult dilemma. Respond too weakly, and it risks appearing vulnerable. Respond too aggressively, and it risks further international isolation and internal strain. Every move now carries consequences. Behind closed doors, military planners on both sides are already adjusting. Russia will reinforce defenses, relocate assets, and tighten security. Ukraine will analyze results, refine tactics, and prepare for the next opportunity. This cycle will repeat, each time raising the stakes. One of the most important aspects of this strike is what it reveals about the future of warfare. Drones, precision weapons, real-time intelligence, and information dominance are redefining how conflicts are fought. Traditional concepts of depth and distance are losing relevance. There is no true rear area anymore. Ukraine has embraced this reality faster than many expected. As night fell again, the smoke cleared, but the implications remained. This was not an isolated incident. It was part of a broader campaign designed to apply constant pressure, disrupt operations, and undermine confidence. For Russia, the message was clear. No place is entirely safe, and no system is invulnerable. For Ukraine, the message was equally clear. Resilience, adaptation, and strategic patience can level the playing field even against a larger force. And for the world, this strike served as a reminder that the war in Ukraine is far from over. It is evolving, intensifying, and producing consequences that extend well beyond the battlefield. As analysts continue to dissect what happened and what comes next, one truth stands firm. Ukraine has shown once again that it is not merely surviving this war, it is shaping it. Another deadly blow has shaken Russia, but the deeper impact may only become visible in the days and weeks ahead. Decisions made now, reactions chosen under pressure, and lessons learned from this strike will influence the next chapter of this conflict. The question is no longer whether Ukraine can strike again. The question is when. If you found this breakdown informative, make sure to stay tuned for more in-depth analysis as this situation continues to develop. The story is far from finished, and the next move could come when least expected.